Hello everybody, this is Daniel with Peace and Plenty Homestead. I decided to do a voiceover on this subfloor that I'm putting in. So here I am getting started. I've got the 2x8s and the 2x12s up. I'm doing the layout across the back, 16 inches on center. The layout across the front is already done. I got myself some 2x2 pressure treated 8-footers that are laying right there on the ground, and I'm squaring the back right now, just making a line so that I'll know where to put the 2x2s. I accidentally got that a little bit too high. I shouldn't have put a nail at every 16 inches. I should have just put one nail to just hold it there like I did the front. When I put the 2x2 up on the front, I just put one nail in it to hold it and then pulled it up tight to the 2x8 floor joist as I was putting it in. That went a lot smoother for me. So here I am measuring for the 2x8 just to double check my length again, make sure I've got it straight. Cutting and crowning, and I used a red crown to put an arrow for which direction the crown was. I had two of them that had a real high crown to them, so I marked them double crowned, and I put them side by side so that they would tensile strength down straight together. I didn't want to have two high ones scattered out and then you'd have a wavy floor. So I just put the two extra crown ones together. Notice I'm putting the 2x6s treated, some in, some out, so it doesn't knock over the 2x8 band boards that are going around the outside. The way I did this project was I did not plumb and brace off the 6x6s. They're just standing there, not secured to the concrete or anything. The whole thing is wobbly. You might see and even notice the band board and the floor moves a little bit. So I'm just gently assembling it, loosely assembling it, and then I'm going to square it up and secure it, and then plumb down on the 6x6s and attach them to the concrete once the floor is square and secure. So I'm putting the 2x6s in here. I've got my red crown mark telling me where they're crowned at, and I'm lifting and nailing here and then going back there, and I'm having to hammer the 6x6 down a little bit in the back because it's about 1/8 of an inch high. The front, I only had one nail in the 2x2, so I would nail in the 2x6 and then lift the 2x2 ledger up tight to the floor joist and then put the nails in that, and that system worked the best. Pre-nailing it in the back every 16 inches, I ended up accidentally being 1/8 of an inch high, and you can see me get my hammer out and have to adjust it down by hitting on the top of it to get it flush with the outside band. So that was a mistake on the backside, nailing it too many nails. One nail just to hold it there was enough. Again, I'm going to put one in and one out so as not to knock the floor over. Then I'm going to climb inside there and put those last joists up. And I doubled up the outside. There's a 2x8 there, a single 2x8 there now. And I just added a 2x6 right on to that one. And a 2x6 at this end, I added it right on to the outside single 2x8 band. I put a double down the middle right where the front door and the back door are, just to give the floor a little extra strength right there where the traffic is going to be. You can notice again on the front that I lift the 2x6 up flush to the 2x8 band, nail that, then lift the 2x2 ledger up and nail that. The floor is a little wobbly here, but we will put a strap on it and a brace and get it squared up in just a minute. Lots of nails and everything. Nailing the band board real tight. Here I am going across the back, nailing the 2x2 ledger with a bunch of extra nails because I pounded it down and I wanted to just add some extra nails to it. I nailed the inside and the outside of that double band there. Lots of nails there to give it strength. Same thing on the other side. Nailed it inside and out. That thing, Hilti gun, uses a lot of nails. It's a nice gun because it doesn't have the gas. It just has the battery. That's all you have is the battery and the nails. No gas to have to fill. So this is the double I was telling you about, right at the front door and the back door, just to strengthen up the floor. That's also right where the double crowned 2x6s were. So it'll help strengthen the floor right there. Here we are getting it squared up. So I've got this ratchet strap on it, and I pulled it and just ratcheted it until it was square, and I checked it both directions with the tape measure. And then I went ahead, and it was so wobbly, I plumbed that 6x6 out there. It was the tallest one. The ones on the left there, they were the tallest. So I plumbed and braced them off with some scrap 2x2s left over from doing the ledgers. And that gave it some stability, not much. It still was a little rickety, but I'm trying to get it square and then plumb those 6x6s down. I thought it would be quicker. Instead of trying to go around and brace and plumb each 6x6 up, I decided to square the floor and then come back and plumb the 6x6s and put braces on them. Now the front here wasn't perfectly straight, so I put another strap underneath. I did it underneath so I could have room to run the plywood. So I just want to pull that centerpiece so that it'll be straight and ready for the plywood. I'm just sighting down it with my eye, but I checked it with the chalk line. And then I put my 4-foot chalk line for the plywood. And now I'm ready to put the plywood on. I double checked it one more time well, I wanted to, but the tape was going crazy on me. I did finally get the tape measure to, rather than the 100-footer, I was trying to get this 25-footer to, I finally put a log or something on it. It came unhooked so many times there it fell. Okay, got a log on it now. It'll stay there. Double checked it. Yep, it's perfectly square, perfectly straight. Let's start putting the plywood on and secure the floor straight and square. This piece of plywood was hard to get on there because I didn't want to drag all the glue off. I wanted to set it straight down on there without pulling all the glue off, so it was a little bit tricky. I still got some glue on me, but so got it on the line, got it on my chalk line, checked both corners. Okay, I wanted to double check the straightness and the squareness, so I went and checked it around again, made sure I hadn't moved it or bumped it or anything. I checked it one more time just to be sure because I had the log ready. I hadn't nailed the plywood off yet, just put 1 or 2 nails in it. Now I can nail it like crazy. I can put all the nails I want in it. I laid this 2x8 across there diagonally from the corner of that piece of plywood just to give that floor a little more stability. It was a little shaky up there standing on those on the 6x6s. They were wobbly. So there goes the second piece of plywood. And then, like a pyramid, I ran the third piece of plywood was stacked on top of the 2 that I had already put on. The floor was still a little wobbly, but I've got it straight and I've got it square. I've got the 2x8 diagonally bracing it off. Again, I don't want to smash the glue. I want to gently set that plywood down in it so I don't drag the glue all over the place. It's tongue and groove, so I'm going to use the sledgehammer and the 2x4 to tighten it up. And now it's ready to nail off. With that plywood, that much plywood on there and that 2x8, I can take the strap off and put the next piece of plywood on, which will reach the corner and secure the building, secure the floor. Still straight. Take off this strap so I can get the plywood on there. Lots of glue. It took one tube of glue for each sheet of plywood, but I wanted to put plenty of glue on it. There again, I just want to set the plywood right down on it without dragging it around. Nailed it off good and tight. Had to put a 6x6 post to push that band board in just a smidge to get that side straight. Did my layout, 16 on center. Wanted to make sure that they were straight so that when I laid the next plywood on there, the joist would fall on the seam. So gluing for the last row of plywood up there. In my mind, I thought this would completely stiffen up the floor, but it didn't. The floor still had a little bit of wobble to it. But this was a really good height to work with. I could walk around the outside. Okay, I thought I took the 2x8 off so I can do some more plywood. Took the nails out of it so we could reuse it. Okay, all straight, all square. I'm ready to start putting my plywood on. Lots of glue. Now, when I put this on, notice how I did the same thing, lifted it, and then I just eased it down so the glue didn't all splash out and squish out. Tightened it. Now, when I'm hitting it, that floor is wobbling. And I didn't like the way it was wobbling around. So I decided to go ahead and put the bracing in. Since I knew I had it square, I knew I had it straight, let's go ahead and plumb and brace all the 6x6s with the final bracing. That way we could finish the plywood and not have to worry about it falling off of the 6x6s, which is they're just propped up there. They're not secured at all to the concrete. I have metal straps down in the concrete, and I will attach those metal straps to the 6x6s. Once a little bit more weight gets on the 6x6s, I don't want to be attaching the metal straps and move the 6x6 out of plumb. So I'll get a little bit more of the building built and then come back and attach my straps that are coming up out of the concrete. And I just did a 2x4 cut on a 45-degree angle, about 1 inch up off of the ground. Nailed it up underneath there, and I left room underneath of there for the insulation, obviously, which will go between the 2x6s. But then I left the 2x4s down enough so that I can slide a styrofoam 1/2 inch or maybe 3/4 inch, and I'm going to sheet the whole bottom underneath with like an R value 4x8 styrofoam. So here we are going around with the 2x4s, and they're recessed back in 1.5 inches, which I think it gives it nice depth with that 1.5 inch offset. Now that the floor is secure, I can finish running the plywood. I had to go to Lowe's and get one more sheet of plywood because the floor is 21 feet long. I don't know why I had in my mind it was 20 feet. I put these footers in months ago. And in this area, you're allowed 256 square feet without a permit. So I did 12 by 21 just to be underneath the 256 requirement. It didn't take long to run these last couple of pieces of plywood because all three of them were full sheets. They didn't have to be cut. So it was just glue and set. All except for the last piece. It was bowed. I had gotten it off of the top of the Lowe's pile. I took the piece that was kind of dented because I didn't need the groove part of it to be perfect. I just needed the tongue to be perfect. But I didn't notice that it was warped. So when I go to put this last piece in, I had to do some finagling to get it in because it was bowed. I'm trying to pull it and you can see it's sticking up. So I went around, stuck a 2x4 underneath of it, and so then I could tap it in. Took a little persuasion, but finally got that little tongue into the groove. Then I went back, had to go all the way back around, get the 2x4 out. Then I could nail the bowed out of it. Marked it with my 3.5, both directions, all four corners, 3.5 inches for my 2x4 walls. Then I put a screw in those two corners right there. Then I could just pull my tape and double check to see what we had, and it was about 1/8 of an inch off. So I moved it on those on the two ends, moved it 1/8 of an inch, and it was perfectly square. So then I chalk lined my 3.5 on all four sides, and then we were able to start the front wall. Now I wanted it perfectly square. 1/8 of an inch might not sound like much to worry about, but I wanted it perfect so that I could plywood the walls and stand them up, and then square the walls, plywood them, and stand them up. They would be plumb then. So I'm toenailing that bottom plate down so that when I stand it up, the wall's attached to the floor. I'm going to toenail this one down. And then I decided to cut the studs 7 foot 2 inches. I should have gone 7 foot 2.5 and done 2x6 headers, but oh well, live and learn. I ended up doing two 2x4s and a 2x4 on the bottom for each header. If I'd gone an extra 1/2 of an inch, I could have used 2x6s for headers, but it's just a little tiny house, nothing major. I crowned all of those studs and put them all with the crown up. That way the drywall would be straight on the inside. It wouldn't be wavy with some crowns up and some crowns down. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment and look forward to more videos real soon.